Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're journeying into, well, a pretty stark place. Culminates Jail in Dublin. It's this stonewalled witness to centuries of Irish history. Just imagine the whispers, the struggles, the kind of desperate hopes echoing through those cells.
It really is more than just a prison. It's like a living archive, isn't it?
Exactly. And our deep dive today is all about pulling back the curtain on Culminates Jail's document pack, covering this really pivotal era from 1796 up to 1849. So you're about to get a shortcut, really, to understanding a period just packed with revolutionary fervor, devastating famine, and the raw human experience of people living and often suffering around its walls.
Yeah, our mission here is to pull out the key bits of information, connect some dots, and maybe reveal a few surprising facts. Hopefully you'll come away well-informed and maybe, like you said, a bit stunned.
It's a profound journey, definitely. We're talking nearly 5 decades of intense change. We'll uncover tales of, well, pretty audacious rebellion, the shocking reality of prison life back then, and those silent cries of a nation facing starvation.
And what's so powerful about these documents, these sources from Kilmainham, is how they give you such a granular, really human view of these huge historical events.
And listen to this, we're going to uncover a fascinating, kind of unexpected link between a defiant Irish rebel's last words and one of the most famous speeches in modern British history.
Ah, that's a great teaser. It's a historical echo that really might surprise people.
Okay, let's unpack this. First off, let's set the scene. Culminates Jail itself, it opened its doors in 1796.
Right.
And it quickly became the main jail for County Dublin. It held everyone, really common criminals, political prisoners, and later it even acted as a depot for transportees heading off to Australia.
And that's what's striking, how quickly Kilmainham became this mirror, sort of reflecting the bigger problems and events happening in Irish society.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, the stories from inside its walls, the prisoners, what they were accused of, their conditions, what ultimately happened to them, it all resonates with the political turmoil, the social injustices, the really dire economic realities happening outside. It's like a microcosm of the nation.
So if the jail was mirroring society's upheavals, what about the people caught up in it, like the United Irishmen in the late 1790s?
Oh, that period was electric. The United Irishmen, they were inspired by the French Revolution, you know, liberty, fraternity, equality. They pushed for full Catholic emancipation, trying to unite what was a very divided Ireland. Their movement really picked up steam, and the government's reaction, it was swift and pretty severe. We've got documents, like from the Freeman's Journal in 1797, detailing these dramatic arrests of key leaders, Oliver Bond, Thomas Addis Emmet, Henry Jackson, others too.
And what were they charged with?
Treason and conspiracy with the French. It really shows how deeply the government feared that external influence, that French connection.
And the authorities found some, well, pretty surprising things among their papers, didn't they? Like handbills.
Yeah, absolutely. They found these handbills. McCracken's letter. It's quite something. He initially thought he'd have more leisure time to write, but he found the complete opposite was true.
Right.
His letter gives such a vivid picture, full of personal frustration. He's stuck in there with all sorts of crimes, as he put it, observing the different turns of mind. He complained about being plundered by turnkeys, his clothes were falling apart. He desperately needed money. And he even noted, maybe with a bit of irony, that a typical prisoner's day involved having use of a yard all day and play ball morn to night. His account really shows how even political prisoners, maybe expecting a bit more dignity, were quickly dragged down into the squalor of everyday prison life.
Then you look at the official records, like the jail register for 1799. It lists all sorts of crimes, treasonable practicing to murder. But here's something really odd. Some prisoners were apparently sent to the King of Prussia as their discharge.
Yeah.
I found that incredibly strange. What on earth did that mean?
It is a really peculiar detail, isn't it? Essentially, the British government was, well, pretty nervous about the ongoing threat from France.
Okay.
So they were willing to free certain prisoners if they agreed to go fight for France's enemies. In this specific case, that meant Prussia.
So fight for Prussia to get out of Culmainham.
Exactly. It's a remarkable example of how these big geopolitical games directly affected individual Irish prisoners. A very bizarre path to freedom through foreign military service.
Right. Fast forward just a few years to 1803, and we get this really audacious uprising led by Robert Emmet.
Ah, Emmet.
Yeah, a young guy, only 25, came from a Protestant professional family, university educated, but deeply committed to Irish independence. He'd spent time in France, came back planning a new insurrection.
His plan was ambitious, definitely. But the execution was, well, It was tragically flawed. On July 23rd, 1803, Emmet leads the small group, but the whole thing just quickly falls apart into what one account calls a disorganized riot, fueled by a drunken rabble.
So just chaos, basically.
Pretty much. This lack of preparation led to chaos instead of any kind of controlled revolution, and it cost lives.
Yeah, there was that awful incident during the chaos. Lord Kilwarden, the Lord Chief Justice, and his nephew were dragged from their carriage and piked, just brutally stabbed to death.
Terrible. And Emmet himself was caught just 2 days later. He had a swift one-day trial for high treason and then execution, hanging, drawing, and quartering on September 20th, 1803, right outside St. Catherine's Church.
But we actually have Emmet's own explanation for why it all collapsed, don't we? Delivered right before his execution.
We do. It's incredibly candid. He blamed a profound lack of resources, not enough money, a severe shortage of weapons. He specifically mentioned scarcely any blunderbusses bought up. And there were critical logistical problems, too. Fuses forgotten, slow matches got mixed up, and crucially, the expected support from the counties Wexford, Kildare, Wicklow just didn't materialize. Men didn't arrive or they got turned back. It was just a cascade of practical failures.
He famously said, "Had I another week, had I 1,000 pounds, had I 1,000 men, I would have feared nothing." It really gets across that raw regret, but also his belief that success was almost there.
Absolutely. His own analysis of failure still has that note of defiance, doesn't it? But it's fascinating. Not everyone saw Emmet in such a romantic light, even other prisoners. James Tandy, another guy in Kilmainham, offered this really scathing, almost funny counterpoint.
What did he say?
He called Emmet's conspiracy truly genuine, ridiculous, and puerile.
Wow, harsh.
And he even made this amusing comment about the plan to arrest government officials and gallop them off to the mountains, apparently, without planning to bring extra saddles for their prisoners.
Huh. So even in that grim situation, some people still had a sharp wit about Emmet's grand, maybe slightly impractical plans.
Exactly. It's a good reminder that historical figures often get viewed very differently by the people around them at the time.
And the government's view obviously was even harsher.
Naturally. We have R. Rainey, a yeoman in Dublin, who described Emmet's goal as eternal anarchy and horror, nicknamed a free and independent republic. Rainey saw Emmet's enthusiasm as wild and extravagant, basically thought Emmet saw himself as a martyr.
But did Rainey acknowledge anything else?
Interestingly, yes. He also noted Emmet's dignified firmness at the execution itself, where Emmet declared, "My cause was a noble one, and I die at peace with all the world." So even someone who completely condemned his actions seemed to recognize Emmet's personal conviction.
Okay, so beyond the politics and Emmet's fate, Kilmainham itself. The conditions for prisoners in this early 19th century periods sound truly dreadful. James Tandy's petition again gives us appalling account.
It's almost unbelievable, the details he gives. Tandy described his cell being unbearably close to the toilets, basically.
Oh, no.
He said the overflowing was up to the threshold of my door, forcing him to literally wade through human excrement just to get his food.
That's horrific.
And he reported getting putrid flesh meat served on a filthy table, often torn apart by attendants with filthy fingers. Fresh food, forget it. Just bad potatoes and bad cabbage. It's a damning indictment of the systemic cruelty and neglect in Kilmainham. Really challenges any idea of justice back then.
And he talks about dark, unventilated cells, right, where you couldn't even read at midday without a candle. Lack of air, lack of exercise. He said his constitution was nearly destroyed.
A truly grim picture of just trying to survive. And Tansey's petition went further. He drew this powerful comparison, saying he'd experienced more wanton cruelty or more savage treatment in Kilmainham than in any other European prison he'd seen, even including the old Bastille of France.
Wow. And did he blame anyone specific?
He did. He points the finger squarely at Dr. Edward Trevor, the medical superintendent. Tandy accused him of having an inhuman, hardened, and malignant disposition, saying Trevor met complaints with contumelious laughter and deliberately made people suffer.
So, suggesting it wasn't just neglect, but actual malice.
That's the implication, yes. A deliberate intent to inflict suffering, not just contain prisoners.
Okay, let's shift gears. From those specific horrors in early 19th century Kilmainham, we move into a national catastrophe that would completely engulf Ireland. The Great Famine, starting around 1845. The early police reports, the constabulary reports from December 1845, show a really interesting but heartbreaking initial picture of how the potato blight was understood.
Yeah, what's really striking is how inconsistent it was at first. Some districts, like Dublin and Fermanagh, were initially reporting the disease had stopped, that they had plenty of potatoes.
Okay.
But other places, like Louth, Monaghan, Wicklow, were already reporting major crop loss. These different reports really illustrate how slowly and unevenly people realized the scale of the crisis that was about to hit the whole nation.
And communities tried desperately to respond, didn't they? Like the Talite Relief Committee, formed in February 1847.
Exactly. You had local landowners, magistrates, clergy getting together. They worked tirelessly inspecting families, opening a meal shop, setting up a soup kitchen serving soup for just 1 penny per quart.
Trying to keep people alive.
And these efforts were actually credited with having preserved the peace of the neighborhood despite the terrible conditions. They raised money locally, appealed for government grants. It really highlights the huge strain on local resources and the need for immediate practical help when government relief was slow.
But as the famine really took hold, Kilmainham jail itself became this stark indicator of the growing desperation. The jail register from 1847, right in the thick of it, shows this dramatic spike in specific crimes that just scream survival.
It's not just a list of offenses anymore. It's like a brutal accounting of the famine's choice: starve or steal. Crimes like rooting potatoes, begging and gathering alms, stealing raw meat, they became incredibly common.
Just people trying to eat.
Absolutely. The register gives specific examples: prisoners aged anywhere from 15 to 75, mostly laborers, tailors, blacksmiths, ordinary people, pushed into these acts by sheer necessity. It shows how the food supply breakdown directly fueled a social breakdown.
And the official reports from the Inspector General of Prisons really quantify this, right? Showing a huge jump in criminal cases and transportation sentences between 1845 and 1848.
The numbers are just staggering. In 1845, you had about 16,700 criminal cases, 625 transportees. By 1848, it ballooned to over 38,500 cases and nearly 2,750 transportees.
Wow.
Vagrancy was a major driver. The prisons just couldn't cope. It reflects the complete breakdown of social order under the famine's weight and the state basically trying to manage an overwhelmed, desperate population.
And Kilmainham itself, by 1849, was really struggling. The report from that year calls this plan and dimensions deficient, totally overwhelmed by this enormous daily influx of beggars.
Yeah, overcrowding was critical. The report says 5 prisoners are frequently obliged to sleep in the same cell, 2 on a bedstead, 3 on the floor, totally against regulations.
Just inhumane.
Other conditions were bad: 2 unglazed windows, very limited work like breaking stones or picking wool, no proper schoolmaster. And they noted the extreme youth of many female vagrants and prostitutes. It's an unflinching look at a system just stretched to its absolute limit, struggling for basic decency.
Though despite all that, the report did mention daily food inspections, good quality provisions, and some effort at basic education and spiritual care.
True. It shows the system was straining, maybe failing in many ways, but still attempting some level of humane practice amidst the absolute chaos.
And this era, of course, saw transportation become a huge, though often tragic, solution for Ireland's overflowing prisons.
Yeah, it wasn't new. It went back to Cromwellian times, sending people to the American colonies. But it ramped up massively, with Australia becoming the main destination. We're talking over 30,000 men and 10,000 women transported from Ireland to Australia over about 62 years.
That's a massive number.
It's a huge exodus, not just punishment, but this desperate forced migration that really shaped both Ireland and Australia profoundly.
So what was life like in a convict depot? Kilmainham served as one. What do we know?
Well, the Inspector General's report from 1848 gives us a snapshot. Cattle stealing seems to have been the most common crime sending people there. Typical sentences were 7-10 years. And common diseases were things like itch, scabies, probably, and bowel complaint. Dysentery, likely. A pretty grim picture.
But we get an even closer look from a chaplain's journal, right?
Yes, the journal of Reverend Robert Downing, a Catholic chaplain on the convict ship Pestongi Bonangi in 1848-49. He describes this incredibly tough journey. Rough seas, sick convicts, being confined below deck, the challenges of trying to provide spiritual guidance and even basic education. He actually formed school classes using monitors
On a convict ship.
on a convict ship. He noted deaths during the voyage, too. But interestingly, when they arrived in Hobart Town, Australia, he reported the uniform good conduct of the convicts and how eager they were to learn. Many apparently made considerable improvement in reading and writing. It's quite a testament to human resilience, isn't it? that desire for betterment, even in the absolute worst circumstances. A little glimmer of hope amidst the harsh reality of transportation.
It is. Now, after looking at the sheer scale of suffering during the famine, it might seem strange to circle back, but Robert Emmet's story, his short life and dramatic death, really continued to resonate, didn't it? Even as Ireland faced new crises. Why did his legacy last so strongly?
That's a great question. I think his youth, the fact his rebellion was so doomed, and maybe the lack of extensive personal writings that all allowed his legend to grow, he became this powerful, romantic figure for Irish nationalism.
Right, the myth-making.
Exactly, and it came complete with heroines and villains. You have Anne Devlin, his teenage housekeeper, who was half-hanged and jailed in Kilmaine for her loyalty. Her cell is now a key part of the museum. And Sarah Curran, his secret love, whose own father refused to defend Emmet and later disowned her.
So these personal tragedies fueled the legend.
They amplified it, definitely, turned him into more of a symbol. But the absolute core of his legacy, what really cemented his place, is that iconic speech from the dock.
Ah, yes, the speech.
Delivered at his trial, it's just one of the most famous pieces of Irish nationalist rhetoric, period. He so defiantly vindicated his character, insisted he wasn't just some emissary of France, and fiercely declared he'd resist any invader with a sword in one hand and a torch in the other.
Powerful imagery.
Incredibly. He swore to dispute every inch of ground, burn every blade of grass, until the last entrenchment of liberty should be my grave. What's amazing is his courage. Even when Judge Norbury kept interrupting him dramatically, Emmet fearlessly accused the judge of causing innocent blood to be shed.
Just total defiance.
It's a masterclass in defiant rhetoric, delivered knowing execution was certain.
And those closing lines, they're unforgettable. Let no man write my epitaph.
For as no man who knows my motives dare now vindicate them, let not prejudice or ignorance asperse them. Let them and me repose in obscurity and peace, and my tomb remain uninscribed, until other times and other men can do justice to my character.
And then the famous part. When my country takes her place among the nations of the earth, then, and not till then, let my epitaph be written. I have done.
It's just incredibly powerful. It transcended the immediate failure of his rebellion and offered this vision for the future.
Of course, the British authorities at the time tried to play it down.
Oh, absolutely. People like Lord Castlereagh dismissed it as a contemptible insurrection without means or respectable leaders. Emmet's own prosecutor painted him as just a deluded leader of the lower classes.
But history saw it differently.
History and later nationalists certainly did. Patrick Pearse, one of the leaders of the 1916 Easter Rising, later declared Emmet's 1803 uprising a triumph for that deathless thing we call Irish nationality. It really became a foundational myth for generations that followed.
Okay, and now for that intriguing connection we mentioned at the start, this surprising link to modern British history.
Right. It's a fascinating, not very well-known fact. Winston Churchill's famous "We shall fight on the beaches" speech during World War II was directly inspired by Robert Emmet's speech from the dock.
No way. Really?
Really, if you look at them side by side, you can see striking parallels in the language, that absolute unwavering resolve to defend the homeland at all costs, no matter what.
Wow. That's an incredible historical echo, isn't it? Across time, across political divides.
It truly is. It just shows the enduring power of that kind of rhetoric to inspire and galvanize people, regardless of the specific cause or context.
So what a journey. We've covered nearly 5 decades of Irish history, all seen through the cold stones of Kilmainham's jail. From the fire of rebellion with Emmet and McCracken, through the absolute despair of the famine to the distant, maybe mixed hope of transportation, these documents really paint such a vivid picture of a nation in constant flux.
And what becomes so profoundly clear, I think, is how a jail really does mirror the problems of the society around it. We've seen it again and again, the people inside Kilmainham, their alleged crimes, their conditions, their fates. They directly reflected the political turmoil, the social injustices, the dire economic realities happening just outside those walls.
It gives you a real visceral sense of the human cost of these big historical forces.
Absolutely.
And just to leave you with a final thought, Emmet wished for his epitaph to be written only when my country takes her place among the nations of the earth. So you might ask yourself, has that time truly come? What does it even mean for a nation to find its place, especially one with such a rich, complex, often painful history like Ireland's? What aspects of Emmet's vision perhaps still resonate today as Ireland continues to shape its identity on the world stage? Something to ponder.